My thinking is do it in the morning, because afternoon is usually hotter. They're gonna have to wait outside to get in, because not everybody can come in all at one time. Or we can split it up, do some diagnostic in the morning, after breakfast and before lunch, since she's gonna have 25 more this year than she did last year. And then after lunch, do a second group. In other words, she can tell the parents that sign up for the morning or sign up for the afternoon. Do you remember last year what happened with the diagnostic?
So we go after lunch or breakfast, and as soon as we got back, we did the testing. Period. That's it.
Say that again?
We did it right after lunch. We were in a restaurant, and then we rushed back.
And we rushed back and did it after lunch. Yeah. And in the problem with the time we were doing it, when we were doing the diagnostic, what was the problem? Other than us, there was a problem with parents. Do you remember? There were all these parents outside pushing their children in, trying to get them in the door to get the diagnostic testing, and the people from the inside were trying to push them out, saying, stay out, stay out. Now, you may have been involved in your diagnostic and didn't even notice that, but the parents were wanting their kids to get in there. They were afraid that if they didn't get in for the testing, they wouldn't be accepted. And she had a window. She had a set time. Testing is from this time to this time. And some of the parents were looking at the time thinking, my child's not going to get in. So we had a lot of problems with keeping the people out of the room because they were too noisy. We finally had to close the door. We first had it open and the parents were lined up, but then they started shoving through the door. So what my thinking is, if she's going to have 100 children and 100 parents, or maybe 60 parents, that's 160 people trying to get their kids diagnostically tested. So if we break it up into 2 groups and do some in the morning, have a break for lunch, some in the, and the parents sign up. I will bring my child at 10 o'clock time, and then I'll bring my child at the 1 o'clock time. That way our testing is going to be longer. Do you know why? Because it's your suggestion. What did you suggest to me in the testing?
Reading and writing.
Reading and writing. You said some of these kids couldn't read and write, and some of our activities required them to read and write. Remember the lessons? Now, not the non-speakers, but the reading and writing. So what I'm doing is I am changing the diagnostic, and they're going to have to write, and they're going to have to do some reading to you. So it's going to take you about 10 minutes longer per student to do the diagnostic. Now, do you remember how long it took you to do one last year? One student?
5 minutes.
Okay, so we're looking at 15 minutes per student.
So
That's a lot of time.
Maybe we have to do morning and afternoon.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yes. And I think it's important that if they're tested correctly and divided correctly, you will have less frustration with the lesson. Don't you think? Because you will know that your students can read and write to some limitations, but they can still read and write the basic language. We're not talking about high vocabulary, but we're talking about basic. This is the colors, the numbers, That way when you're giving them a writing assignment, they can, because some of you said to me in the survey, they need to write more. They don't know how to write. Well then, okay, then they need to know how to spell those words. And so that's what we're going to determine in the diagnostic testing. Can they read and write? Now, I'll try to get that diagnostic testing down to about 8 minutes per student, because 15 is going to be too long. It'll be impossible to do 15 minutes. So we're going to try to get it down to about 8 minutes per student. So there's no time to say, hi, how are you, what's your name? You have to say, hi, what is your name? But beyond that, you got to get right into the diagnostic. So, and by the first 3 students, you'll be picking up that diagnostic a lot faster. You'll be doing it a lot faster. You'll know the questions. You'll know the answers. And so it'll go by much more quickly after maybe the third student.
Last year, as soon as we finished diagnostic testing with each child, we determined which level we were going to that this year. We're going to come back together and talk about it first.
Well, you mean you determined it at that time?
Right, high, lower.
You have to give me some estimation, because if I say to you, what about Johnny? Oh, Johnny, who was he? This is after you've already done 25.
Mhm.
It's like, which one was Johnny? So you're going to have to, at the bottom, indicate where you think he would fit in. And we'll be doing that, and maybe some training of that before. In other words, one of you will be a student, one of you will be a diagnostic tester. And then one of you will not know the answers and not be able to write very well. And then that other person has to say, well, what do I think? Where do I think this person belongs? And then you'll get an idea of where you think that person needs to be. So we'll do that before we have our testing on Saturday. So hopefully we'll get that done on Friday. That'll give you an indication. Number one, you'll have an overview of the test. Number two, you'll have practiced the questions. And number three, we'll have discussed where should you have put that person. Let's say you put them in intermediate low, and they should have been in non-speaker, let's say, because they just didn't know enough to be an intermediate low, according to my lessons, okay? Because everything has to fit my lessons with their ability. So I would say, well, if my lesson in intermediate low requires that they do this, so I don't think they're going to make it. So non-speaker will be non-speaker and novice. It'll be a combination of, they know a few words, they know some of their colors, they might know a few names, but they don't know how to string into sentences. So there may be a novice and non-speakers combined, which isn't too bad because that gives the novice students a real encouragement to think that they know a little bit more than somebody else. The intermediates will definitely be intermediate. They'll have some knowledge there. Okay, so the teaching and assistants will be 2 and 2, be 4 per class, unless you have a really small class. The assemblies, she's training her assistants, she's already training them. They've already started. They meet every week without fail. And so they are going to be really prepared for us when we come in. She is also teaching them the songs that we had from last year. Now we're going to change some of those songs, but she is teaching them the songs. And she's going over with them some discipline techniques. So they will be pretty well trained by the time we get there. We need to make sure that we're ready so that we're not spending time at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning trying to get ourselves ready for the next day. So we've got to make sure that we're ready. So the classes, tell me what you're interested in as first choice, second choice, and third choice. The number of classes we're going to have are going to be the novice non-speaker class. And then we're going to be having the intermediate low class. Intermediates were the highest number last year. Intermediate, regular, and then our advanced group. Okay? Now I need to know, I'm going to put a number here as to